How you doing, folks? I want to talk a little bit today about why we miss. How come we don't hit our target, our bullseye, or whatnot? Uh, Majority of the time, you're not going to hit it every single time or 100% of the time, but you can increase consistency. And I'll just share with you you know what I went through and how to kind of change that. So, first thing I'll start with is your mental focus. Mental focus is a big factor on why a lot of archers don't hit their target most of the time. It could be your mind's on something else. You're not completely focused on the target. You may be holding back too long, uh, more than you know than normal, I guess, or you're trying to hold for a longer period of time and you're losing focus on your target. Uh, for me, being an instinctive shooter, I've experimented with hold time at anchor, and I found about a half to 1 second is about my best. If I hold any longer than that, my mind just kind of wanders from there. So, about 1 or 2 seconds is about the most. 2 seconds, I'm gonna be borderline a arrow going whichever way. But the the way I had to figure out on my mental focus was during hunting last year. I missed several deer. I even missed my first deer that I shot at this year before in the same morning, I harvested a deer. So that's completely not the equipment, and it's not the arrow set up, or it was all me. So I had a beeline on my spot, but I took my eyes off of it for a brief fraction of a second, and that just threw my shot way off. Uh, if you want to hit where you're looking or where you're aiming, if you're an aimer, gap shooter, you're really going to have to focus on your spot. And if you're an aimer, not so much the point of your arrow, because when I used to shoot compound, once you got the pin or your point of your arrow on your at your desired gap or dead on if you're point on, it's going to float around regardless. No matter what you do, it's going to float around. So once you get it there, if you focus on your spot, you'll see a lot less of that pin float or tip float, per se, and it'll probably help your accuracy and help your focus. Uh, I experimented with hold times. Yeah, it might be something. Some people might be holding too long, may not be holding long enough. Each individual is different. So I know for me, it's about 1 second, half second to second and a half, somewhere in that range. As long as I'm in that range, I'm good. And the mental focus is a big deal. Archery is mainly a mental game, and if you're worried about this, that, other things, crowd, people watching you, and we'll get in a little bit about that. A lot of those distractions will cause you not to be mentally focused on the shot at hand or or at the target that you're shooting at. If your mind's always, just busy and you just can't concentrate, then, to see that you can stop, come back at a later time, and kind of get everything going. Because that's one thing I did work on all last year, and even part of earlier of this year, I worked on it during 3D, just focused and just work on mental focus, and it helped my shooting, also, and I was able to stay focused longer. Sometimes I'll wonder, you'll have those days. I have them quite a few, but once you get it back into perspective and do it the way you're supposed, you're trying to, keep your attention and your focus on the target, you're going to be a lot better shot. You're going to have uh, a lot better results of what you're looking for. But again, it takes work to get to that point, and it took me most of the year to kind of get that straightened out. But in archery, especially in traditional archery, any other type archery, whatever style, it takes a little bit of work to get, moved up to whatever level you want to reach. So if you can just concentrate on, just trying to focus on the spot and figure out how long you got to hold, that's something each individual is going to have to figure out. I mean, you can ask people the questions on social media, they'll tell you 20 different answers until you experiment for yourself. I mean, and try different times and see how long a hold before you release is good for you. Then you'll find it's consistent, and you'll find your shooting be more consistent. So, that's just like one little part of, why we miss, why we don't, or I don't hit my target all the time. Archers all over it. There's something different with each individual. Not everything gets the same individual, but I know the mental focus was one of them for me. And the way I worked on it was figure out my hold time. Once I got that figured out, everything started coming together a little bit better. So, I mean, something you have to experiment with. And if you find, say, 2 seconds is good for you or 3 seconds, practice that and you'll be consistent. And I hope this helps, and I hope I'll get on to another subject here in about a week. I haven't really been posting too much here lately, been hunting, and plus I just got a cold and trying to shake it, so I'm kind of hoarse. So I'm going to start getting back into the swings as I'm getting closer to the end of my deer season, but I still got small game and all that, and trying to work on some other things, trying to film my own hunt, and that's like a whole nother world for me. So hopefully I can get that all straightened out here for long. So I hope this tip helps. Just figure out how long that you can stay mentally focused on the target, and try different hold times at anchor, and whatever hold time it is, whether it's half second, 3/4 of a second, if you have to count it off, there's a lot of different ways. But that's one culprit that gets about every archer, is mental focus on the target, and trying to figure out how to separate aiming from shooting. I'm not an aimer, I'm an instinctive archer. I can set you up aiming, but I know my gaps and all that, but I shoot instinctive. So my whole time and my focus is going to be, real key, along with form, doing the same thing every time. So I hope this helps, and I hope y'all have a great day, and God bless.